Hmm. Okay, and so that's a great insight. I appreciate that. But okay, and so the idea, the issue with the whole Gnosticism, really any spiritual idea, is always like, we talk about these communications between spirits or all these bodies and like control measures built into the fabric of the universe itself, which like Jacques Vallée talks about coming as a UFO investigator. He talks about these things as being like a control mechanism for this guiding consciousness kind of thing. But anyway, so the question obviously arises, well, how is that even physically possible? How does that matter? And it seems to me that the idea simulation is a useful way to conceptualize how that would be possible, because if we are living in a sea of information, then I think it becomes easier to like visualize how this information can be interacting, right? And so I'm just curious, you as somebody who's been studying Gnosticism forever, how do you see how simulation and theory and Gnosticism can overlap or complement each other, or do they not?
Well, Gnosticism is probably the original, almost original, the main simulation theory. The Gnostics came with their version of simulation theory, where we live in a not just a flimsy illusion, but we live in a completely faked reality on purpose. And this is something Gordon White also mentioned. And it has been encoded to purposely keep us in this reality, which is not even the truer reality. How nefarious, or are the nefarious creatures, or it's something we created the coding and we forgot about it. But the Gnostics were really the original ones to create. In the West, in the East, you obviously have a lot of traditions. In fact, as Rizwan Verk, I guess, said, the word Maya just doesn't mean illusion. It means carefully crafted illusion. Somebody
Hmm.
did it on purpose to fool somebody else. Who it is, we don't know. Mara, ourselves, Brahma. But here in the West, the Gnostics were really the only ones to do that. And then you don't find it anywhere in Western tradition. You find it Descartes in his famous "I think, therefore I am." He's actually postulating that what if there's a demon, a demiurge, you might say, and he's kept me, and I'm sitting here, and everything is an illusion, and my whole reality. And he said, "Well, I think, therefore I am." So at least I have a starting point that I exist, and I can start slowly getting the evidence. You have that with Descartes. I think I haven't gone that deep, but I'm sure in a lot of the fairy lore where you have sort of different worlds and everything, I think you might find some simulation theory, but you only find it in modern times where it suddenly has become mathematical, scientific, and accepted. I mean, Neil Bostrom, the physicist from Sweden, he said there's a 1% chance that we are not living in a simulation. He did that mathematically. And Elon Musk really has run with this. So has some, Neil deGrasse Tyson, others. So it's interesting that the Gnostic worldview sort of got mocked for 2,000 years, and suddenly now it's one of the leading scientific ideas, and that's because technology, psychedelics, science fiction, all that sort of allowed this idea to really blossom and come into the consciousness of leaders, scientific leaders, mathematical leaders. But what I should mention too is that the Gnostics were never thinking in a void. Like any ancient mystics, they had a lot of, they honored what came before them, and they tried to find answers in ancient Egyptian lore, Judaism, paganism. So they're actually expanding on the simulation theory, because the most famous philosophical allegory in history, I'm sure you know which one it is. That is,
Plato's cave.
thank you.
Yeah.
Somewhere in 300 BC, Plato gave us the simulation theory right there. We're trapped in this darkness, and there's the shadows, and it's not real. And he used what he had around him at the time, but that's simulation theory right there. That's the Matrix. It's like the early version of the Matrix. And the Gnostics were like, whoa, we are going to really blow this shit up and expand on it and give you a full scientific experiment of how it works. So, making a long answer short, which I just gave you long, yes. Gnosticism and simulation theory are one and the same, and now it's cool. And as many have said, like again, Riz, like Riz, and Rodney Asher, who did the great documentary "A Glitch in the Matrix." What's great is that the simulation theory might be our one chance to bring the materialists and the religious together, because if the religious people can see that, yeah, we do live in an illusion, there's more to reality to this, who are the forces out there? But the materialists can say the same thing. Who is creating the code? Are we creating the code? Who's the master coder? How can we break through this code of simulation and get out of the computer and find out who we are? It's asking the deep questions. Where do we come from? Are we what it is to be human? So it's a great opportunity for both sides to actually, for once, come together. And again, I go back to what I said, that the Gnostics were also, they were rational philosophers, but they were also crazy-eyed shamanistic mystics. So good opportunity to bring everybody together, as it's something that's very logical and very mystical at the same time.